Hola friends, welcome to the Medicine, Marriage, and Money YouTube channel, the only channel for physicians who want to achieve marital interdependence and financial freedom together. On this channel, you will learn how to show up as the best version of yourself so that you can love intentionally and build a more financially savvy relationship with your spouse. And I am your host, a physician mom, a doctor's wife, a Gottman leader, a certified life and marriage coach, Dr. Kate Mangona. Welcome. Bienvenidos. Bonus podcast of the week, Romance is in the Air. I would like to introduce my co-host, Dr. Alexandra Stockwell. Dr. Alexandra Stockwell is a family medicine physician, marriage coach, and intimacy expert. She has been marriage coaching and an intimacy expert for the past 10 years. She's been a dear mentor and friend of mine for the past 4 years. Her and I are co-hosting our intimacy retreat together, Honeymoon 2.0, at the Four Seasons in Maui in 2024, and thought it would be fun to talk about how during this week of Valentine's Day, romance is in the air and what that means. And does that mean we have to spend more time or less time on our relationships? Intriguing. Let's find out.
Okay, well, good morning, Kate.
Good morning. I'm just going to, one technical difficulty here. I'm going to start. Let's try to go live in my Facebook one more time. And then we'll start.
Someone says, hello, beautiful. And I'm going to say, well, thank you. Yes, we're feeling very beautiful this morning. I don't know if you're genuine or creepy, but I'll take the compliment.
Oh, that's a really great way to respond to that. I love that, Alexandra. Okay. We are now live on all of our places. So, okay, excellent. Yes, romance is in the air. Okay, this really goes along with my recent presentation at WCICon, where I was last week in Orlando.
White coat investor, for those not in the know. That's so exciting. Please keep going.
Yes, and it was actually in Orlando instead of Arizona, like it had been in the past 2 years. So I feel like there was a different crowd. I met a lot of new people. It was amazing. And my talk was about maximizing the value of your time. And the title was How Operating at Your Highest Pay Grade Will Bring You More Joy. And as physicians, especially as medical students, as we go through residency fellowship, we are not taught to operate at our highest pay grade. We are told to do the scut work, all the little things, continue, right? We continue doing the laundry, the cooking, the cleaning, everything. We do everything. I even had as a med student, I had a patient ask me to like rub their feet and go grab them ice cream. Like as a medical student, you would go get stuff for your patients, right? Because, and maybe, maybe some attendings, they take pride that they still do this too. However, when you are tight for time, and you have kids at home and you have a spouse you want to spend time with, and romance is in the air, right? Is it or is it not?
Or you want it in the air.
The air's a little thick. Yeah. Are you going to spend more time out of your day doing the scut work, doing the meal planning, going grocery shopping, doing these things? And I see, so my talk was all about outsourcing. How can you maximize the value of your time? Well, first, you can prioritize. Second, you can delegate, which is outsource. And third, you can say no to certain things. Like you can delete certain things. Yet, right, I feel like this stuff is such common knowledge, yet it's not, because there were so many people who came up to me afterwards and was like, I never thought about it that way. And I, even at the very end of my talk, I said, what is going to be your priority this month? One man raised his hand and said, I'm going to spend more time with my wife. He said, I have 3 kids. I am a busy physician, like everyone else here, and I'm going to spend more time with his wife. He got a roar of applause from the audience. I mean, without spending time with your significant other, with your love, it's hard for romance to be in the air, right? Unless, is romance in the air when you are cooking onions? Maybe when Alexandra cooks onions. What about when you like dust the fans, the ceiling fans? When you clean the toilets, are you doing that? Are you picking up the dirty boxers? So anyway, I'm going off. I wanted to.
No, but I want to say, I think that's so important, because there's spending time with your spouse, and then there's spending time with your spouse. And the thing that comes into my mind is the statistic that the majority of couples spend less than 4 minutes a day discussing anything other than kids and logistics. And so you might well be with your spouse like a good portion of the time, doing bedtimes, doing the dishes, et cetera, et cetera. But are you spending time with your spouse in a way that is specifically nourishing for the relationship, that is specifically nutrition for the romance? That really is the question. And I think that's what you mean when you talk, and that's certainly what that man meant when he talked about spending time with his wife, like listening to her, opening his heart and sharing with her. It's not just, in fact, it reminds me of the difference between 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. 2-year-olds do parallel play, and 3-year-olds actually interact with one another. And when we're talking about spending time together, it's not, parallel play equivalencies can be connecting, but that's really not what we're talking about here. We're talking about direct interaction, which just feels so yummy and is a prerequisite for romance, intimacy, erotic connection, vulnerability, and so on. I love how you framed all that.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Like you said, if you're only talking about the kids, like all 3 of my kids are sick right now. So we're talking a lot about what medications you're supposed to be taking, who is going to be putting them to sleep. Okay. Who's taking them to the doctor's appointment, your finances, your work schedules, like that's just so technical, And so, but going back to the not enough time, how much time, Alexandra, have you found, and maybe even coaching your clients or maybe even your own relationship, how much time does it take to rekindle the romance or to keep the romance alive? Like, are we talking 4 hours a day? What is that? Because so many physicians, we have an abundant mindset when it comes to how much love and attention we give our children, but not for our spouse. Why is that?
Well, I'm not going to go into why that is, because I think it's a super interesting question, but I'm a very outcomes oriented person. And that doesn't mean I have all the data or the analysis to back it up. I have mostly anecdotal data, but I am very outcomes oriented. And just this whole question actually reminds me of a client that I coached just last week, who is an extremely hardworking, busy family medicine doctor. And I don't think her husband is in medicine, but I know he works very hard as well. And they have 2 children. And so as I say, I had one session last week. It was the first time we coached together. And the reason that she wanted to coach together is because she wants more romance, more connection, more fun, more affection. Like, I didn't have the sense that in wanting more intimacy that she was explicitly talking about wanting to have more sex. I don't think she's averse to it. That's not actually, whether or not that's happening is not a challenge in their marriage. It was much more about the things that make you feel good, the things that come kind of under the umbrella of romance that have you like smile and enjoy the day a little bit more and just feel cozy and look forward to the evening, and just sort of, because you're such a fabulous pink pixie dust kind of person sometimes, just like sprinkling sparkle throughout the day, feeling flirtatious. Like, there's so many communications that you can make in an extremely practical way And you can make those same communications in a way that just like they feel kind of sexy. So this is what she wanted. However, she had postponed coaching with me for a very long time and wasn't even sure that she wanted to do it. She started, with some ambivalence because she thought in order to have the kind of romance and affection and so forth that she wanted, it would take more time. It would just extend her to-do list. And the thing is that her to-do list is plenty long enough. And so to extend it in order to have romance, it was kind of in a cost benefit analysis. It wasn't clear it was going to be worth it. Okay, so in the end, we coached. And she came out of that session shining because she understood that just that time with me changed her mindset, changed how she was thinking about things. It not in the sense that it meant, okay, now she was up for putting a lot of time into it. No, it's that she saw that it really was a limiting belief, thinking that it would be this burden to create more romance. She realized, oh, it's just about attention and intention. And I gave her a number of things to implement. I mean, I'll share one in a second, but I gave her a number of things to implement. Every single one felt easy, fun, certainly not burdensome, and would really be very easy to incorporate into their lives without detracting from it. And she sent me a message 3 days later. Let's see, I guess I can't really pull it up, but she basically said that they're laughing so much more, that there's some things that this is like not exactly romance, but she wanted him to help her with some things in her business. And he's just like there for her. And he's typically resistant. And in a way, my favorite thing is that their kids, who I think are like not like middle school age or a little younger, have started giving them what she calls the gross look. Like, Mom, Dad, do you have to be so gross?
Yes,
And
yes.
it means that in the context of family life, without any more effort, they're just like connecting and turned on. And I think this is so, so, so important. Yes, the time investment is in learning the skills, in evolving your mindset, in playing with like how you might do things differently. But once that time investment is made, it does not take time. It just takes, being in the new way. And I think this is a perfect segue to talk about Honeymoon 2.0, because that's exactly what it is. For the couples who are lucky enough, smart enough, and motivated enough to join us next October at the Four Seasons in Maui for Honeymoon 2.0, which we'll be co-hosting, yes, there is a time investment to show up. But after that, the return on that investment is so much ease and delight and nothing extra on the to-do list, just more romance, more sexiness, more connection, more collaboration. It's all about going from good to great with a great deal of ease and naturalness after the initial investment of taking an incredible vacation in Maui with guided coaching sessions.
Right. Oh, I love it. It's like what you might be afraid of or what you think took a lot of time or something, maybe it adds to your to-do list. Like you said, your client is like, she already has a massive to-do list. It's not about adding more things to your to-do list. It's like this, it's a completely different headspace that you're in.
It really is. And for me, I got this lesson actually kind of coming from the opposite direction, because my husband and I met the first week of medical school, and the first 10 years of our relationship included marriage and all of our training and having babies in diapers and so on and so forth. And so I just thought once we had more time together that the romance would blossom, because it made so much sense that we I didn't know then what I know now. And I thought, well, we didn't have time because we were working hard personally and professionally. And so once we did have more time, I thought, well, now there's space. Of course, it's going to be incredible. And it wasn't. Like, we had more time and nothing changed. And then I realized, oh, it's not about having more time. And I'm going to add, in the context of talking about my client, it's not about having more to do. It's about how you orient. It's like learning a new language that's actually one that's inside all of us. And, it's not like learning grammar for a new language. It's like when we just tap into it, we're all fluent.
Absolutely. Yes. It's like a language that really is inside of us, but you have to have guided out. I think it used to be easier. People think it used to be easier. Okay, back before kids' career, like going on. But is that really true, or is it just that innate romantic language inside of you got kind of squashed from societal norms and what people think we should be doing instead of focusing on our love or our spouse, or maybe even Hollywood?
Yeah, I think there's what you're saying points to something very profound, which it's slightly different than where you were going, but I think it's really relevant also. It's a combination of what you've said and what I'm about to say, which is that I think in our society, in Hollywood, in our role models, we have a much better idea about how to kindle romance in the early stages of a relationship. And it's just as natural, just as obvious, just as fantastic through the decades. I say this anticipating celebrating my 28th wedding anniversary next month, that there's even more depth of connection. And, when you know one another's bodies, sure, sex can become boring if that's your, if you don't know, if you're like blocked from the innate intuitive eroticism. But if you get rid of it, when you know one another's bodies well, then the most incredible things can happen. And so I think, there's so much available as the years pass, but where are we going to get that learning? It's definitely not from Hollywood. It's not from porn. It's not from role models who, even people we know, they tend to show more about what's happening before marriage and, with dating and so forth. But when we're in the thick of it, when we're decades into our time together, there just aren't very many people who are showing how that can be. Right. And yes, Honeymoon 2.0 is going to be this incredible, luxurious experience at the Four Seasons, but it's also the opportunity for some education so that anyone there can tap into the riches of being in a long-term, committed, passionate relationship, or making it passionate.
Yeah, that's so true. I started thinking about that. It's like everybody loves following Taylor and Kelsey, right? For hooray! Congratulations to the Chiefs last night, my hometown. So definitely excited. But
okay, well, I live in the Bay Area. I'm not far from San Francisco. I couldn't care less about football, but I feel like I shouldn't let that slide by so easily.
Yes, I know. I think the entire world was against them this year, though. Everybody loves Taylor Swift, except for, of course, the Californians. Yeah, they want. All right.
Well, anyway, I'm not personally invested. I just thought if you're going to bring up the Chiefs, I'm going to bring up.
I'm from California. Yes, you are. And we're going to go there sometime too. We're going to have another retreat in what's that area called? Napa Valley. Yes, but for yes. People are so interested right when people are starting. Like, it's like right when people are starting or they're in their romance and we want to know all about it. Same thing with our friends, not even famous friends, but just our regular friends. Or it could be our children. Like, we're just so excited. And then once everybody's married or settled down, it's like romance doesn't exist anymore. It's like we just kind of silence it. It's like, okay, when are you going to have children? Or when are you going to get your job promotion? Just like, wait a second. Let's enjoy how much we still love each other and feel connected and all the sparks we still have. I have a aunt and uncle who live in Sacramento, and he is a divorce attorney. And every time I visit them, and this is since I was a child, I'm pretty sure I had that gross look on my face because I feel like he had seen so many disasters. And this is the other time people get interested in your love stories, when it's coming crashing to it.
Deteriorating, yes.
Yeah. So he has seen so many disasters. And of course, they try to help couples through it, mediation before divorce. But they had seen that so much, they made it an everyday ritual to, like, PDA. They would always be hugging, touching, going out to lunch, just them. I mean, it was a real connection, and everybody in the room, everybody in the house knew it.
That's so amazing. I love that he used his, professional career to propel him. And there's another element I want to add to what you've said, which is that, yes, we're interested in what's happening in romance when things are getting started and and then also when it's deteriorating. But I also think that those are the two instances when we are less invested. We're not less invested in the relationship, but our identity is less inclusive of the relationship. So of course, it's been decades, but if I'm dating, then who I am and who that other person is are not intertwined, are not so mutually contributing, because we're getting to know one another. Mm-hmm. It's like my identity is separate. So I can talk about all that, whatever's going on, my happy dating stories, my sad dating stories, without it sort of without feeling ashamed, let me just say. Mm-hmm. And the same thing, I'm kind of oversimplifying, but when a relationship is deteriorating and essentially about to complete, or at least, get divorced, the relationship doesn't complete. That wasn't precise. But anyway, then again, our identity has to grow. It's a very painful process, but our identity develops separate from the marriage. And then we can also feel more comfortable talking about it with our friends. But for that in-between time, when my identity is totally intertwined with having a good marriage, like I have all kinds of interests that aren't of my marriage, but you can't take the marriage out of me. That's who I am. It's not the only thing I am, but that is who I am. And while it's our relationship is so interwoven with our identity, we don't want to talk about questions, challenges. Like, the first step in really up-leveling your relationship is having the courage to look at it and be real with oneself. So I know for me, when I began to find the ignition on our marriage, I can't actually remember, because I had no idea I was headed towards sharing so much and wanting to know. But I feel like it was at least 6 months before. It felt like it was 5 years, but I know it wasn't. But the point is, it was a long time emotionally before I had the courage to speak up about how I wanted things to improve. Actually, that's not what I spoke up. I spoke up by saying what I was dissatisfied with. But this I see in my clients too, that when we work together, we're working on long-standing patterns.
Yep.
That they're only now ripe and ready to work on. But because they are, the most amazing transformation becomes possible. Is that your experience also?
Oh yeah. I mean, when you say, yeah, the long-standing patterns, like that's when people come to me and probably to you, is when they get caught in this vicious cycle or this snowball. And it's just like, well, when he says this, I shut down or I throw a tantrum. And then I know, and then it becomes out of control. Then we don't talk for days or, right? It's just like, and then it's a pattern. And to be able to recognize that pattern and decide, I don't want to continue this pattern anymore, is the first step, usually. And that's when they come to us. And then I think it takes time to kind of undo these patterns, these cycles.
Yes. And I think it mostly takes time because you have to learn new ones. It's like we need our neuroplasticity in play to develop new ones, because even if you conceptually understand something else is possible, when you're in the moment and the emotions are the same, it takes pivoting. And I guess I just want to say that I totally love, it's one of there's so many things that I value so highly about Honeymoon 2.0, the retreat we're co-hosting in Maui at the Four Seasons. But it is for people who have patterns that need to be transformed in the way we're talking about now. And it is for people who just want to go from good to great, from great to supercalifragilistic fantastic. Like, you don't, if this is speaking to you, you don't need to decide, do you have problems or don't you have problems? All you need is a desire to up level in ways that I feel very confident promising will be better than you can imagine. Because our capacity to imagine magnificence in our marriages is actually fairly limited. And the reason that I say that is because we have so many more words for complaining about our relationships and so many fewer words to differentiate the kinds of intimacy and connection and the ways our hearts and bodies can feel in relation to our partner. And, just like the Inuits have like so many different words for snow, or the ancient Egyptians had so many different words for the heavens. Like, my fantasy is that one day we will have a real verbal range of expression in English about the different flavors of delight in a relationship. But since we don't have that, I feel very confident saying the transformation for those who join us for Honeymoon 2.0 will be beyond imagination, because we don't have the language to access how good it really can be,
Yeah.
fairly effortlessly,
Right.
so long as you're ready to collaborate.
Yeah. We will be talking about patterns, right? In your relationship, the ones that are good and making them great, or the ones that are not so good and teaching you, right? The time does not come from you building the romance in your relationship. The time comes from, hey, let's get into a different headspace. Just like you said, learn the skill sets. But guess what? The amazing part about this is when you have a guide, like me and Alexandra, who are co-hosting Honeymoon 2.0, and you have a program and you're immersed, that's when things are accelerated, right? People and programs like Honeymoon 2.0. This is where we are maximizing the value of our time, because we are not stuck in our own hamster wheel. We have decided we're going to get off it. We're recognizing those patterns. And now we know two people who are experts in it. And we're going to spend 5 days at the Four Seasons in total luxury, figuring out and deciding how we're going to want to change it with proven tools. So it's going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. And let's leave it there with great wishes for a wonderful Valentine's. Although I feel very confident, no matter how great your Valentine's Day is, if you join us at Honeymoon 2.0, next year's is going to be way better.
I agree. Join us. We'd love to see you there.
Yes, we would. Okay. Bye.
Share with your friends, please. This you could have the power right now to actually save somebody else's marriage, or just enhance it and take it to the next level and increase their expressions, right? Alexandra's fantasy, their expressions of delight, and the words will be coming out of their mouth. And you'll want to keep hanging out with them because they're going to lift you up and you're going to lift them up. Power couples, come join us at Honeymoon 2.0. If you are finding the concepts I teach in these episodes useful and want more in-depth and personalized support for your relationship, consider this your invitation to join me in creating the most connected and intimate relationship with your spouse that you could dream of. Go to www.medicinemarriageandmoney.com right now and download my 18-page medical marriage survival guide and workbook at no cost to you. I also have a 6-day marriage challenge, which goes over the 6 predictors of divorce at no cost to you. These have been known to decrease fighting, rumination, and grudges between you and your loved one. If you want to take it a step farther, really enhance the joy and connection in the most intimate relationship in your life, sign up for my 8-week Making Marriage Work program today at medicinemarriageandmoney.com. Thanks for leaving us a stellar review, subscribing, and sharing with your friends on social media. You have the power to improve someone else's life and marriage simply by sharing this episode. Much love to you and your spouse. You're exactly where you need to be in this moment. Adios, my friends. The content of this episode is not intended to be a substitute for professional, medical, or financial advice. The opinions provided on this episode are those of myself or the invited guest alone. They do not represent the opinions of any particular institution. Always seek the advice of your physician or financial advisor with any questions you may have of a medical condition or financial plan. This is for your entertainment only.